All right, hello everyone. Welcome to the third edition of this podcast, My Dear People. This is Wednesday on the podcast, so I hope your Wednesday's been going good so far. Today I'm joined here by Andrew Hollinger. We're chilling out in, classroom 3?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Try to get away from the sanctuary noise. So yeah, Andrew and I have known each other for, quite a while.
7 years, I think,
Yeah.
since we moved
Yeah,
here.
maybe slide just a bit around so we're both. There we go.
Yeah.
So yeah, why don't you tell us just a bit about who you are so everyone knows what you do?
Yeah, so I currently build storage barns, which is my lifelong passion, but it's what I do now. I enjoy working hard. And just learning and talking through, excuse me, but the different things like some of the things we're going to talk about today, Parkinson's Law, and rites of passage, just kind of different ideas.
Yeah, well, there's this interesting thing where, at youth group, everyone has their little groups. So me and Andrew Martin usually, huddle into a threesome and talk about the world's problems and solutions.
Yeah.
We actually just came out of one of those conversations.
Yep.
We were talking about, pretty much everything from LCD screens to Trump's tariff laws. So, yeah.
For sure.
So what we're going to talk about today is, I guess, it kind of stems from another one of those conversations we had, some stuff that I thought was really interesting, and so I asked Andrew if he'd come talk about it with everyone else. So the first thing we're going to dive into is this thing called Parkinson's Law, and I just thought it was an interesting idea when Andrew mentioned it, but yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about what it is?
Yeah. So I kind of stumbled upon it on a Forbes article a while ago, but Parkinson's Law, it's kind of this neat idea. This guy came up with in the 60s, I think, 60s, 70s, wrote books about it, called Parkinson's Law. And it's the idea that work expands to fill the space allotted to it. It's kind of a phenomenon that people in that era ran into as more and more like the blue class workers were doing office jobs instead of just manufacturing.
Mm-hmm.
So like a manufacturing job, you kind of can't speed up the process in some ways like an office job where it's paperwork. It can kind of expand or detract depending on how much kind of pressure you put on yourself.
Yeah, sure. And the idea, even in its most basic form, is that if I have 3 days to do my homework and I only have 3 hours worth of homework, it's still going to take me the 3 days.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and hence why I think a lot of why he came up with this law is why do people wait till the last minute to accomplish a task when you had all this time to do it?
Which is actually an interesting thing I just thought of. So you work for Genesis Building Barns, but you're paid on commission, right?
Mm-hmm.
So probably the idea of commission is trying to eliminate the effects of Parkinson's Law somewhat.
Yeah, there's definitely a big incentive then, because it is a benefit to me to maybe spend more money on tools, to build faster,
Mm-hmm.
to make more money,
take shorter lunch
etc.
breaks.
Yeah, to take shorter lunch breaks, work harder days, and not to work longer days too. When you're paid hourly, like I was in the past, you take a longer day.
Right. If your project winds up at 4 and you get off at 4:30, you'll just sweep for a few more minutes or something.
Yeah, that kind of idea, you're just kind of hang out on the job because you're putting in hours,
Mm-hmm.
when it might be 3:00 in the afternoon and you're not getting anything done. You might as well go home and take a nap because your hours worth of work, it's worthless. Yeah.
So, are there examples of how this has been applied? I don't know. In big scale manufacturing or anything?
Yeah, not so much in to my knowledge. I do know there's a lot of books for managers. A lot of management in businesses would teach their other managers down the chain about this law and these ideas so that they can, people, again, working more office space, paperwork kind of jobs, that to help them kind of regulate how much time is maybe being wasted in the workplace there.
For sure.
But yeah, for manufacturing per se, I don't know, because there's always a push there when you're actually building a physical product to make things go faster, because you have a lot of fixed costs like your machines and your building, and the more money you can push out of the building per time is definitely to your benefit. That's a little more obvious.
The law probably has its biggest effect in smaller scenarios, personal type things where small businesses, or I was saying with homework, you just tend to work at the rate that you have to meet the deadline.
Yeah.
The second thing we're going to talk about is another idea that we were throwing around, and I think Andrew brought it up one time, and it's like the rites of passage.
Yeah.
He mentioned that, I guess, in America, we have this idea of adolescence that just kind of indefinitely continues on into your 30s.
Like
you're playing video games and you're...
When will you become an adult kind of question.
But in other societies, like African and stuff, like, there'll be like a definite act that after you complete this, then you are a man.
Yeah, like there'll be this day, like I remember reading about an African culture where a young man, I think he would have to sleep outside the village overnight the day before. Mm-hmm. And then they would bring him in with maybe other boys his age. They'd be like 12 and maybe there'd be like 15 of them. They'd bring him in and there was like a rock. It took everything for this young man to carry the rock. Yeah. And he would carry it a certain distance. And maybe the village would even stand there and yell and ridicule him. But like this, and he'd be crying and stuff, but he'd carry the rock the distance. And then from that day forth, he was a man. He would sit in with the village, or like when the men got together and had their powwows. Yeah. But there was this difficult task, but after that day...
It was like a definite point.
Yeah, a very definite point. Like one day you're a boy, the next day you're a man kind of thing.
That's very interesting. And... yeah, I guess it's just different cultures approach that differently. But like if you would ask someone in America, like, when does a boy become a man? I mean, no one can give you a time, and you might get answers from, or even depending on their family situation, between 13 and 27, you know?
Yeah, something like that whenever you move out of the house or something. Yeah, I know. No, there doesn't seem to be in our culture like this definite day, which... maybe to me, like the definite day isn't maybe the best approach because in some ways one day maybe is too small to maybe make you a man. Maybe it should be many days that are of significance. And maybe the African cultures incorporate that more than I would know, or like in our example.
But it's both the boy then looks at himself as a man and the community then views him now as a man. I think that's that's really interesting. There's there's less like indefinite wondering, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things with it, like rites of passage, regardless of whether it be like African culture, Asian, American, is that at this point in time, like you begin to give back. Like, and that's one of the biggest things as an adult, like then you're required to give back to your village. You need to kill a deer or make money or do something that you are now contributing. Well, you're responsible.
Yeah. That just reminds me. I've even heard, aren't there some African things where like the right is to go kill a lion with a spear?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've heard of that. Like stuff like that. Or like even the Indians, the boy would go out for like a week, and so if he was gonna eat food, he was gonna be killing it with his hands or whatever implement he could find.
Which, also probably in those cultures, there's much less like diversity among man trades. Like if you're a man, you're a lion killer. In America, if you're a man, you might work at McDonald's or you might get a degree in bioengineering or whatever. So it's different that way, but it's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
So those two you were prepared for. I'm gonna throw one at you.
Okay.
Just give me one or two of your heroes, people that you think are great people, someone that I guess like you look up to. It can be someone you know or someone from history, whatever.
Yeah. The first maybe that comes to mind is a gentleman, Ernest Shackleton. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. The book, The Endurance, that kind of journey, like their ship gets stuck in the sea.
Okay, run by me. I'm not really familiar. I've heard the name though.
Yeah.
Like time period and stuff.
So early 1900s, the poles had not been discovered, neither one, south or north. Yeah. And so the idea, South Pole had just been discovered. No one had crossed the whole Antarctic. So the mission of this Endurance and Ernest Shackleton's crew was to cross the Endurance. They got stuck in the ice and ended up living. Their ship broke up. They were lost in the ice for, I think, like a year and a half, and just wandering around Antarctica on the ice floes.
What were they eating?
I think they killed seals. No, they actually, amazingly, no one died.
Wow.
It's an incredible story. One guy lost a foot, and he was the only stowaway. So I guess, so to speak, they deserved it. I think they contemplated.
Did he know what he was stowing away for?
I don't know. I'm sure. I think he repented very grievously, along with the rest of them. But it was an amazing story. Gentleman had to be one of the greatest leaders to ever live. Like the way he took care of his men, the way the book heroes him. I mean, maybe he wasn't, but I would say that was a hero.
So what's the book called?
The book is called Endurance. Author I don't know, but I'm sure if you look it up, it's easy to
I'll
find.
have to check that out.
For a second man, yeah, give me a second here.
You can do one or two.
Yeah. No, probably a current though hero, Elon Musk is definitely a major hero of mine.
Okay, pardon my ignorance. Is he still alive or not? Because
yes, he's very much alive. He's only early 40s, I believe.
Oh, that was Tesla. I get that.
Yes, Tesla, SpaceX. He actually founded PayPal, but then sold it.
Wait, is Tesla? Wasn't there a scientist named Tesla?
Yes, Tesla. He died early 1900s, I believe.
But Musk is still alive.
Yes, Tesla is a Tesla coil. It's an electric. I don't know, but it's a big thing with electricity and
who discovered it?
Mr. Tesla. I forget what his first name is. Early 1900s, but they used the name Tesla for the electric vehicles.
And what did Musk? Why is he?
Musk here to me because he made like one of the biggest things I think is cool is he made electric cars cool. Like it is rad. Like a Tesla is a really cool car. Mm-hmm. It's electric. All the electric vehicles that have tried to come out over the last, their electric vehicles have been around actually since the beginning of cars. Like there was electric and gas for like major computers at the beginning of vehicles, but then gas ended up winning out for cheapness and the technology was easier to build at that time.
And the Middle Easterners were a big fan.
Yeah, and they've made a lot of money along the way on it for sure. But no, I think Musk is cool in that he's made space travel cool with SpaceX, and he's done a good job at making things cool and very approachable.
Convincing culture of it.
Yeah, convincing people at large, like here are the sciences that are really weird and nerdy, but they're also too like really cool, and you can be like really cool in an electric vehicle, even though it's super futuristic. Yeah.
And it's not a Prius.
And it's not a Prius. Yeah, why would you make an ugly car?
Very cool.
But yeah, no, that'd be another hero of mine for sure.
All right, so now the cool part, we're going to give some stuff away.
Yeah, goodies.
Let's see. First, we got the Ragamuffin Gospel book. You said you haven't read this book, but
I haven't read the I think maybe I listened, maybe my dad read the book to us, his brothers or something, but I have watched the movie, so I do have kind of an idea.
Well, actually, I decided to go ahead and buy the movie too, so whoever wins this will be getting the movie book combo, so great deal for you. I've said it on a different podcast, but like this isn't the stuff in the world that I think is necessarily the best, like the most well written. I'm giving away the stuff that's had the most meaning and impact on myself. So this book, I remember very distinctly reading this book my senior year of high school. I think my mom picked it up at a thrift store and brought it home, and I read it. And I think I can confidently say that nothing I've ever read has ever moved me, but not only moved me, but like changed the way that I changed my perspective as much as this book. Just in short, like this book convinced me that God loved me, and I think that's for that reason I think it's worth reading. Anyway, and then the movie was made by, like, it's not a super high budget movie, but it's pretty well done, and I would definitely recommend seeing it. I would say read the book first, but they probably won't. So cool. Those two things.
Thanks, dude. Yeah.
I really like those. And then we've also got a CD here, The City of Black and White by Matt Carney. And the cool thing about this is that I was scouring eBay. I found a signed copy. So whoever wins this, you're getting a signed copy. I hope whoever wins it name is Carol. Because it's to Carol from Matt Carney. But anyway, this one's got... I picked this one just because I'm a Matt Carney fan. He was kind of my jam through high school, a lot of us. So it's got City of Black and White. It's got Runaway Car, New York to California, All I Have, Lifeline. Really good tunes. Doesn't have my favorite in the middle, but has some pretty good ones. Anyway, thanks for being here with me today.
Yeah, this was fun. Thank you, David.
Peace out, people.